Please join me in welcoming Suzannah.
So here's the situation. Employees are leaving at your company. There is turnover, especially of the top talent. Your boss calls you into his office and says, I need some ideas on how to turn around this turnaround. And then I want you to go out and give a presentation to all of our employees with all the great reasons why they should stay at our company. So you go back, you come up with a few ideas, you put a few slides together, you show them to your boss, and your boss goes, great. You pay for some of the images so that it's a really great presentation. You stay up until 1 a.m. a few nights, and then you show them to your boss again, and he goes, great, again, except then suggests changes to 22 of the 25 slides. But that's okay because this is the big presentation, and so many people will be watching it, and so many people will be watching you give it. You present all the great reasons why they should stay. You talk about the benefits, the resources, the opportunities. And how does it go? Fantastic. They loved you. You totally nailed it. But then, nothing changes. And then week after week and month after month, people keep leaving. And with each and every person who leaves, you are reminded that in fact, this presentation that you spent so much time, energy, and money on was in fact a complete and utter failure. And you don't know why. You are devastated. You don't know what went wrong. We tend to spend most of our time in presentations focusing on being perfectly clear on what we want to say. And now while it is extremely important that we be perfectly clear on what we want to say, if we continue to focus only on what we want to say, then 9 times out of 10, we will not get the results that we want. And the reason why is because we are focusing on what we want to say and not what the audience needs to hear. And it's very important to understand this one essential premise that for successful presentations, we need to not only focus on what we as presenters want to say, but on what we as the audience needs to hear. So for that, what I would like to do is introduce you to EIP presentations. The E stands for educate, the I stands for inspire, and the P stands for persuade. Defined, EIP presentations are audience-centric presentations that have been strategically crafted to educate, inspire, and persuade your audience so that you can maximize the return on your presentation investment. First, the prepare stage. So what are we doing in advance of our presentation so that we can speak the way that the audience needs to hear, so that we can tap into the questions that we need to tap into so that we can get clear on how to build the presentation. You get to focus a little bit more on what you want, because you do have goals for this presentation and what you need to accomplish so that you can understand, you can achieve your results and achieve your goals. Ask yourself these 3 questions to get clear on what you want from them, because the risk is that presentations become an information dump of everything you want to tell them, and that's where we get lost. So you need to ask yourself the first question on the education hook: what do they need to hear for them to learn what I want them to learn? And then to inspire, to find the inspiration hook, what do they need to hear to feel what I want them to feel? And finally, what do they need to hear to do what I want them to do? Now the hook is a very, very important piece of this, because the hook is what gives you the connection to the audience. Without the hook, there can be no connection. And if there is no connection, then there is no result. And if there is no result, then what's the point? So we have to make sure to be asking ourselves these 3 questions to really tap into what our audience needs to hear. So when you are giving presentations, where can you find connection with your audience through stories or through examples? Are there points where you can look back and say, when was I in their position, so that they can more fully understand and connect with you as well? So how are you creating an experience for the audience? How are you flowing from one idea to the next? How are you including them in the presentation? How are you engaging them in the presentation? Are you telling stories or examples? How are you creating meaning and relevance? So it is not just the words that you use or the super awesome videos in your presentation. It is the experience for them. Thank you. Thank you.